Hello everybody! Out of respect and caring for those new team members who right now are learning to retail with catalogues and at the moment around these times retailing in the rain with catalogues, it's my absolute pleasure to download to everyone now some of the key things that I personally have learned or been taught by others about how to retail with catalogues comfortably, effectively, and whenever we need to in the rain, and that includes when it's cold as well as wet. If I get wet, I get cold. I cannot stand being cold, therefore I reckon I'm pretty good at staying warm and dry. Here's some of the things that I've learned. First thing, we don't actually wait for good weather to retail with catalogues. If you've got 200 catalogues out and a 3-hour pocket of time that's on your planner while your little one's away at nursery, that's the 3 hours that you need to be out there. So we need to be rigged mentally and practically to go out when we need to go out, regardless or regardful of the weather. Pockets of time. So starting from the ground up, let's talk about looking after ourselves first, the person, the self. Starting from the ground up, evidently pretty solid shoes or boots. You're not going on a half-day ramble on the fells or the fens, but you are meaning to be out there for 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever you've planned. So you've got to be ready. You've got to be dressed right. So solid shoes or boots. I'm not saying hiking boots, but something probably made of leather that you can polish and help to stay waterproof. I guess that trainers won't do it when it's a storm. Okay. Now, fairly obviously, lightweight waterproofs. By this, I do mean both halves. These are mine. That's the jacket, the top. Balled up, because sometimes you wear it, sometimes you carry it, and probably more importantly in a way, the leggings. And I say that because most of us can lay hands on a waterproof coat, but in a storm it's very little use when every gallon of water that comes off that coat runs straight onto your legs. So these are crucial. Okay, now I want you to notice these are quite lightweight because they're quite inexpensive. I think, hopefully I might be out of date, 15, 20 pounds. I hope you can get the full set for. You don't want them so flimsy that they won't stand accidentally brushing against somebody's hedge, but we're not going for high-tech kit here. If it's waterproof, it does the job. Okay, so now we've got water running off your suit, running over your waterproof shoes. So far, so good. How do we top it off? Well, the kit that I've just shown you, like most of them, has a hood. You can use the hood, but I personally prefer to use a hat, because a hat can do things for you that a hood can't do. Now, when I say hat, you might think of something like this, that's quite like a baseball cap, keep the sun out of your eyes, but to my mind, useless in the rain. Because in the rain, what we need is, and this is just like putting the roof on a house, we need something that's got a broad enough brim to stop the rain running down your neck. You can be waterproof all you like. If it's down your neck, that's how you get wet underpants, and it is not nice. So a brimmed hat, and my preference, and old timers will know this is absolutely true, my preference is a really broad brimmed hat, and I'll come back to the reason for that later. Just for the fun of it and hoping not to frighten the horses, if it's all those other things and it's windy as well, you might want a chin strap, but I'll leave that up to you. Don't frighten the horses. Okay, now just on the side, you can actually, if you're like me, you really can't deal with the cold, you can actually retail in leather gloves. If they're nice and close fitting, you can work your round book, use it, leather is a bit like your own skin, not bad. If you find that your leather gloves are a bit too fat on your fingers and a bit wibbly wobbly at the end, slip on a pair of woolen gloves first. It tightens the fingertips and they act almost like your fingers. You can retail all those slips and everything, with gloves on if you need to. Okay, so that's looking after yourself. Now let's think about looking after your kit. That really is your round book, the slips that you may be using, the ballpoint pen, because ballpoint doesn't run. It might not always work in the rain, but once it's on the page, it stays there. Don't ever use a pen that turns out to be water-based ink and it all washes away. I have had that experience. And as a great, great backup, the pencil. No matter how wet your round book gets, the pencil goes on working. Have pens, have pencils. Round book. Okay, now the thing is, there's only a couple of things here. The first thing is, what are you carrying your round book in? Okay, it's a long time since I've had a new Clean Easy catalogue bag, but to my mind they've always got the side pockets with the all-important flaps, and that's precisely to make them rainproof when you need. I've used little shoulder bags, leather bags with a flap over, so I can, have the flap down, keep it dry when it's raining. Currently, because I'm working off a motor scooter, I use this bum bag, which when it's dry, quick and easy like that, if I need to pack it away, get the lid over it, that works too. So the first thing is, and this is about as technical as it gets really, it's what kind of bag or container are you carrying it in? But the other thing about that is, when you're using, especially when you're blanket dropping, it's actually in your hand a lot of the time, isn't it? It's not in a bag at all. So here's a few little tips. Very small matters, but it's just about how you protect it with your own self as you're going about your business. Specifically, I've thought this through. Here it is, got a page devoted to this. If the wind's driving in at you here as you're going up down the drive, carry it in the other hand so your body's shielding your book. Even the way you carry it in your hand, carry it so it's not showing to the rain, and even then have your own hand over it with a glove on. That's even better. If it's coming flat at you, stick it under your arm if needs be as you go up and down a drive. Or if you've got a catalogue bag over your shoulder, your book hand can be in the bag along with the catalogues. It's about developing that awareness of looking after it the whole time. Obviously you've got to make lots of little notes, ticks, dashes, all those notes. Use other people's porches freely. You're on their premises because you're bringing them the service. Take the time, pause a moment and make your entry, or even catch up one or two if you've not wanted to open it every minute because of the downpour. And it's how you use your body. If you're recording here out in the open, turn your back to the rain. Bend over your book slightly, you're physically protecting it. It's not as extreme as it sounds when you do it in the real world. And the great, great thing, when you're doing that turning your back to the rain and bending over your book, if you do it with a proper broad-brimmed hat, you can be, I won't say as dry as anything, but it works really, really well, the broad-brimmed hat. Just to finish, the other week, now granted, I had on everything I've told you about, except I didn't have a broad brim hat. I had my crash helmet on, and that's pretty waterproof too. Just coming out of the Branston Co-op, absolute downpour, and this small gathering of men about my age, waiting nervously, just watching the downpour, and just for the laugh, I said, as I marched boldly out into the torrent and the downpour, I said, guys, you have to walk out there like you just don't care. And because I was tooled up like a proper Clean Easy dude, I didn't. Have fun, be the most comfortable person out there retailing in the rain. And what's good for working in the rain is equally good for working in the cold, because you just put more layers on. And if you use zips underneath your waterproof, you can calibrate your temperature precisely. There's about 15 years worth of learning. It's been a pleasure. Carry on with that courage and that gumption that you're showing, learning to work in the rain with catalogues. Catalogues, eh? How powerful.